Ladies and gentlemen, in our age of boundless activity and relentless progress, we are often told that speed is the essence of success. It is common to believe that to move forward, we must push ahead at full throttle, never pausing to catch our breath. However, let us pause for a moment and consider a rather curious idea. What if slowing down, instead of accelerating, is precisely what we need to move faster in the long run? To begin, we must first acknowledge the paradox that underpins the notion of mindfulness. On the surface, mindfulness, the act of being present, attentive, and aware of the here and now, appears to be the antithesis of productivity. In truth, it is only by slowing down that we open ourselves to the full depth of our thoughts and actions, allowing them to become sharper, more deliberate, and ultimately more effective. When we are constantly busy, our minds scatter like leaves in a windstorm. We rush from task to task, often unaware of the choices we make, and thus we sacrifice quality for speed. We may succeed in completing tasks, but at what cost? The weariness that follows such a life is not just physical, but mental and emotional. The constant haste fosters a mind that is not in control, but rather overwhelmed, unable to focus and prone to making decisions that lack wisdom. It is here that mindfulness reveals its true value. By practicing mindfulness, we give ourselves the opportunity to sharpen our focus and reflect deeply on our choices. We can pause, not as an excuse to procrastinate, but as an invitation to examine our circumstances with care, to reflect on our goals with clarity, and to make decisions with intent. In this space, we gain a clarity of thought that rush and distraction can never offer. To slow down is not to surrender to inaction, but rather to fortify our ability to act with precision. Consider the craftsman who carefully chisels his work, each stroke purposeful and measured. Though the work may take longer, the result is far more refined and lasting than that of a hurried, careless effort. You may wonder how to begin embracing mindfulness in the midst of your busy life. It is simpler than it seems. Begin by setting aside a few moments each day to simply sit in stillness. Focus on your breath, feel the rise and fall of your chest, and let the moment envelop you. During these pauses, let go of the noise that clutters your mind. Gradually you will begin to find that this stillness extends into your daily actions, enriching your decisions and interactions with a sense of purpose and presence. Practice being present in the task at hand, whether it is a conversation with a colleague or the completion of a project. Do it fully, give it your undivided attention, and you will discover that the work becomes not only more satisfying, but more efficient. Understanding the paradox of mindfulness. At first glance, the concept of slowing down might seem counterintuitive to the modern notion of progress. In a world that emphasizes speed, efficiency, and constant motion, the idea of mindfulness, of taking a moment to pause, breathe, and become aware, can appear almost at odds with what is considered productive. Yet, there is a powerful paradox embedded within mindfulness that, when understood, can profoundly transform how we approach our work, our relationships, and our personal growth. Mindfulness is, at its core, the practice of being present in the moment. It is about paying attention to what is happening around us and within us without judgment, simply acknowledging it for what it is. In a world that is often filled with distractions, constant obligations, and an overwhelming pace of life, being mindful is like taking a deliberate step back, a pause from the rush. But how can slowing down to this degree actually lead to greater speed and productivity? The answer lies in how mindfulness improves focus and enhances our ability to make informed decisions. When we are constantly rushing from one task to the next, our minds can become cluttered with thoughts, obligations, and distractions. In such a state, we rarely have the mental clarity needed to make wise choices or think critically. Our actions become reactive rather than thoughtful, as we are simply responding to the next immediate demand without considering the broader picture. Mindfulness allows us to break free from this cycle of reaction. By slowing down, we give ourselves the space to think clearly and with purpose. Rather than scattering our attention across a dozen different things, we focus it on one task at a time, fully immersing ourselves in the experience. This focus sharpens our ability to assess situations, prioritize tasks, and recognize what is truly important. In this sense, slowing down enables us to move more efficiently in the long run, because we avoid the mental fatigue and errors that come from constant, unfocused busyness. Moreover, mindfulness fosters a sense of mental discipline. When we slow down and direct our attention purposefully, we are training our minds to be more intentional with our actions. This can make us far more effective in the work we do, as we are not simply completing tasks out of obligation or in haste, but with a sense of commitment and awareness. Mindful individuals are better able to prioritize tasks based on their significance, ensuring that the most important work receives the full attention it deserves. The act of slowing down allows us to become more attuned to our thoughts and emotions, offering insights that would otherwise remain hidden. In the frenzy of daily life, we rarely have time to reflect on our inner state, yet when we take the time to be present with ourselves, we often discover patterns of thought, emotional triggers, and subconscious beliefs that shape our actions in subtle ways. This self-awareness empowers us to make better decisions, not just in terms of productivity, but in the direction of our personal lives. We become less driven by external pressures and more guided by internal clarity. Another layer of the paradox is that mindfulness enhances creativity and problem-solving abilities. When our minds are overwhelmed with noise, we struggle to think outside the box, unable to access the deeper layers of our intellect. But when we slow down and engage in mindful reflection, our minds can enter a more relaxed and open state, which fosters creativity. Ideas flow more freely, and solutions to problems become more apparent. The ability to think creatively and solve problems is essential to progress, but it requires a mental space where we are not constantly hurrying to the next task. The benefits of mindfulness are not limited to mental clarity and creativity. Slowing down also nurtures emotional resilience. In the rush of life, we can easily become overwhelmed by stress, anxiety, and frustration. However, mindfulness teaches us how to acknowledge and manage these emotions in a constructive way. Rather than reacting impulsively to stressful situations, we learn to pause, observe our emotions, and respond with a sense of calm. This emotional intelligence contributes to better decision-making and improved interpersonal relationships, both of which are key components of success in any area of life. The practice of mindfulness does not mean abandoning the pursuit of goals or success. It does not suggest that we stop striving or slow our progress entirely. Rather, it calls for a recalibration of how we approach our efforts. Instead of rushing blindly toward an end, mindfulness invites us to move with intention, to consider the path we are on, and to adjust our course when necessary. This process of deliberate pacing allows us to build momentum in a way that is sustainable, efficient, and fulfilling, In the long run, the slow and steady pace of mindfulness results in more consistent progress, fewer mistakes, and a deeper sense of accomplishment. The paradox of mindfulness lies in the fact that by slowing down and practicing awareness, we are not abandoning our goals, but refining the way we pursue them. We discover that the real power of progress does not reside in how fast we move, but in how clearly and purposefully we move. By integrating mindfulness into our lives, we unlock a deeper sense of productivity that is not dependent on speed, but on the quality of our actions and the depth of our engagement with each moment. The dangers of constant busyness. In the modern world, busyness is often equated with success. There is a prevailing belief that the more we accomplish, the more valuable we are, and thus we measure our worth by how full our calendars are, how many tasks we check off, and how much we manage to juggle. Yet, in this constant rush, we risk losing something far more important than productivity: our well-being. The dangers of being perpetually busy go beyond mere exhaustion. They can erode our mental health, diminish the quality of our work, and even undermine the relationships that matter most. It's essential to recognize that busyness often leads to mental exhaustion. When we are continuously occupied with a barrage of tasks and responsibilities, our minds become overloaded and cognitive fatigue sets in. This fatigue isn't merely physical. It affects our ability to think clearly, make sound decisions, and focus on the present. In a state of mental exhaustion, we tend to make more mistakes, overlook important details, and struggle to complete tasks to the best of our ability. This results in lower productivity, not higher, as our minds and bodies become too drained to operate efficiently. Constant busyness fosters a cycle of stress. The more we rush, the more we perceive time as a finite resource slipping through our fingers. This perception creates anxiety and pressure, compelling us to work faster, harder, and longer to keep up with the demands of our busy lives. Over time, this chronic stress can lead to serious physical and mental health issues, such as insomnia, anxiety disorders, and even cardiovascular problems. The very drive to be productive can backfire, leading to burnout and a diminished capacity to function in all aspects of life. Ironically, the pursuit of constant productivity can lead to a state of total depletion, where the individual is no longer able to perform at their best due to the sheer weight of their accumulated stress. One of the more insidious dangers of busyness is that it often leads to a lack of self-awareness. When we are always rushing from one task to the next, we rarely stop to reflect on what we are doing or why we are doing it. We go through the motions without questioning whether the tasks we are dedicating so much time to are truly aligned with our values and goals. In a culture that celebrates activity over reflection, it's easy to become trapped in a cycle of doing things simply because we feel compelled to be busy, rather than because we have a clear sense of purpose. This lack of self-awareness not only hinders personal growth, but can also lead to a life that feels unfulfilling and disconnected. The consequences of busyness also extend to the quality of our work. When we rush through tasks without taking the time to engage deeply, we produce work that is superficial at best. In many cases, the speed at which we complete tasks becomes our primary focus, pushing aside attention to detail, creativity, and innovation. The result is work that lacks depth and originality, which may satisfy external demands, but fails to truly reflect our potential. Mindless busyness can cause us to prioritize quantity over quality, leaving us feeling unfulfilled, even when we seem to be achieving so much. The impact of constant busyness stretches beyond individual performance. It can significantly affect our relationships. When we are perpetually busy, we often fail to give our full attention to those around us. Relationships, whether personal or professional, require time, presence, and care. If we are always rushing through conversations, multitasking during interactions, or failing to make time for others, the quality of these relationships suffers. People feel neglected, and over time, emotional connections can fray. In the long term, the relationships that we might have considered central to our happiness can become strained or even lost as we prioritize busyness over meaningful interaction. Busyness can lead to a lack of balance. In the pursuit of external accomplishments, it's easy to overlook the importance of rest and recreation. However, rest is not a luxury. It is a vital part of maintaining our mental and physical health. The constant drive to keep moving, to fill every waking hour with activity, leaves little room for relaxation or renewal. This imbalance between work and rest can have detrimental effects on our creativity, problem-solving abilities, and overall productivity. Without adequate rest, our bodies and minds cannot function at their peak, and the quality of our work and relationships inevitably suffers. The dangers of busyness also manifest in a diminished sense of purpose. When we are constantly running from one task to the next, we often lose sight of why we are doing what we are doing. The endless pursuit of tasks can obscure the larger meaning behind our actions, leaving us feeling disconnected from our values and motivations. This disconnection can lead to feelings of emptiness, dissatisfaction, and frustration. A life filled with busyness but lacking in purpose can feel hollow, as we chase after external markers of success without considering whether they truly align with our deepest aspirations. There is the danger of missing out on life itself. In the rush to complete tasks and achieve goals, we often forget to savor the moments along the way. The beauty of the present moment slips by unnoticed as we focus on what comes next. Mindlessness becomes the default mode of operation, and we fail to experience life with the richness and depth that it offers. Our relationships, our accomplishments, and even our own sense of self become casualties of a hurried existence, and in the process, we lose the ability to appreciate the simple joys and pleasures that life has to offer. Practical steps to embrace mindfulness for success. To cultivate mindfulness and integrate it into our daily lives, it's important to understand that it is not a one-time effort or something that can be achieved in an instant. Rather, mindfulness is a skill that requires consistent practice and intentionality. By taking small, deliberate steps, we can begin to make mindfulness a natural part of how we work, interact with others. These steps can transform not only the way we work, but also our overall well-being, enabling us to operate with more clarity, focus, and purpose. One of the simplest yet most effective ways to begin practicing mindfulness is by setting aside dedicated time for stillness each day. This might seem counterproductive at first, taking time to sit in silence when there are tasks to be completed. However, this practice of intentional stillness allows us to center ourselves, clear our minds, and reconnect with the present moment. It could be as little as 5 minutes a day. During this time, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and simply observe the sensations in your body. Focus on the rise and fall of your breath, the feeling of your feet on the ground, or the sounds around you. This grounding moment helps to quiet the mental clutter and creates a sense of inner calm, setting the tone for the rest of your day. As you begin to incorporate mindfulness into your routine, it's essential to practice mindful breathing throughout the day. Breathing is an automatic process, but when we consciously focus on our breath, it brings us back to the present moment. You can practice mindful breathing whenever you feel stressed or distracted. For example, take a few deep breaths before answering an email, starting a meeting, or making an important decision. By bringing your attention to your breath, you allow yourself a moment of pause that can prevent impulsive actions and enhance your decision-making ability. This simple technique can help you remain calm, focused, and centered throughout the day, even in the midst of chaos. Another way to integrate mindfulness into daily life is through mindful listening. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to be distracted when others are speaking, whether due to the pull of technology, our own thoughts, or the pressure of time. Yet, mindful listening involves giving someone your full attention, not just hearing their words, but truly engaging with their message. When you practice mindful listening, you are not only more present in your conversations, but you also build stronger relationships. People appreciate being heard, and this deeper connection fosters trust and cooperation. To practice mindful listening, focus entirely on the speaker, avoid interrupting, and resist the urge to formulate your response while they are talking. Allow the conversation to unfold naturally, and notice how much more meaningful and productive it becomes. Mindful awareness can also be applied to the way we approach tasks and work. In many professional environments, multitasking is encouraged, yet studies have shown that multitasking often reduces efficiency and leads to more mistakes. Instead, practicing mindfulness in your work means focusing on one task at a time. When you give your full attention to a single task, you are more likely to do it well, with greater precision and creativity. This focus not only enhances the quality of your work, but also reduces the feeling of being overwhelmed. By embracing the idea of single tasking, you can increase both your productivity and satisfaction in what you do. An extension of mindful work is time management through mindfulness. It is easy to become consumed by endless to-do lists and time constraints, often feeling that there is never enough time in the day to accomplish everything. Mindful time management is about being aware of how you use your time and setting clear, intentional priorities. Instead of filling your day with a hasty attempt to complete every task, take the time to plan and organize your activities with purpose. Break down your day into focused blocks of time for specific tasks, and make sure to build in regular breaks for rest and reflection. By approaching time management mindfully, you become more strategic with your time and energy, ultimately creating a more balanced and productive day. Another practical application of mindfulness is in the cultivation of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize and manage our own emotions and the emotions of others. It's an essential component of success in both professional and personal realms. Mindfulness helps to build emotional intelligence by teaching us to become aware of our emotional responses in real time. Rather than reacting impulsively to situations, mindfulness allows us to pause and observe our feelings before acting. This self-awareness helps to prevent emotional outbursts, improve decision-making, and foster healthier relationships. To develop emotional intelligence through mindfulness, practice noticing your emotions without judgment. When a strong emotion arises, whether frustration, joy, or anxiety, take a moment to reflect on what it is, where it's coming from, and how it's influencing your thoughts and behavior. Practicing gratitude is another powerful mindfulness technique that can significantly enhance both personal and professional growth. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have, encouraging us to recognize the positive aspects of our lives, no matter how small. By regularly reflecting on the things we are grateful for, we begin to cultivate a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. This mindset can transform our outlook on life, improve our resilience in the face of challenges, and increase our overall happiness and satisfaction. One effective way to practice gratitude is to keep a gratitude journal. Each day, write down 3 things you are grateful for, whether they are related to your work, relationships, health, or experiences. This simple practice can help shift your perspective and bring a greater sense of fulfillment and purpose. To deepen the benefits of mindfulness, it's important to incorporate mindfulness into physical activity. Exercise, when done mindfully, not only benefits the body but also the mind. Whether you're running, practicing yoga, or walking, bring your full attention to the movement of your body. Pay attention to how your muscles feel, how your breath flows, and how your body interacts with the environment. This kind of mindful movement not only reduces stress, but also helps to improve focus, clarity, and overall well-being. It's a way to reconnect with yourself and recharge your energy. Mindfulness requires patience and consistency. It is easy to become discouraged if we do not see immediate results. However, like any skill, mindfulness takes time to develop. Commit to making small daily efforts and understand that the more you practice, the more natural it will become. Over time, you will notice the profound effects of mindfulness on your productivity, creativity, relationships, and overall sense of fulfillment. Through steady practice, mindfulness can become an integral part of how you navigate life, helping you to approach challenges with greater composure, achieve your goals with more clarity, and find deeper meaning in every experience.